Hello and welcome to the El Monitor podcast, Reading the Middle East with Gilles Kepel, where each month we take a deep dive with authors and thought leaders who are shaping the way we think about this complex and dynamic region. And I have a very special guest, Amos Gitai, the world-famous Israeli-French filmmaker whose documentaries and feature films on the Middle East, on the Arab-Israeli conflict and the Holocaust memory in Europe were entered more than 10 times over the last 2 decades in the most prestigious festivals, the Cannes Film Festival for the Palme d'Or, as well as the Venice International Film Festival with the Leone d'Oro Award, and your lifetime's work was also celebrated by the Leopard of Honor in the Locarno Film Festival. Dear Amos Gitai, welcome on Reading the Middle East. It's a great honor to host you here at the Institut du Monde Arabe on El Monitor. Everybody knows you as a very famous filmmaker, but not everybody is aware that you were trained as an architect. You got your PhD in architecture from Berkeley, California, and your father, Munio Weinrob, was also a very famous architect. He was trained in Germany with the Bauhaus, and he fled Nazi Germany to Israel in 1933. As you know, we are here in a landmark building. The Institut du Monde Arabe was designed by architect Jean Nouvel, whom I had the pleasure to host a couple of months ago. Your mother, dear Amos Gitai, Efratia Gitai, was a non-religious scholar with an expertise on biblical text. And we see here at the Institut du Monde Arabe a text of the Geniza manuscripts that were discovered in Cairo. You grew up in the 1960s as part of the anti-establishment youth movements of that time, and then you faced the violence of the war in October 1973, where you survived a very serious wound. Could you explain to us how those influences of your intellectual heritage, your early radical commitments, and your war experience combined into the artistic world you created with its optimistic worldview against all odds in a region ripe with traumas and hatred?
I mean, obviously it's a very long, complex question, but I'll start with the beginning, Gilles, what you asked. So I was born in Haifa, which is by itself a very low-key city. It's not the eternal capital of all these monotheistic religions, which, although it's called Jerusalem, which Hebrew means Yerushalayim, the city of peace, it had never had peace. It was always divided and a big scene of battles and conflicts between communities. I was supposed to follow the footsteps of my father that we mentioned early on, but in the war I was sent to do rescue work to get people who were burning in the tanks, bring them to hospitals, and on the 5th day of that war, which is the 11th of October, which is also my birthday, the helicopter, the Sauvetage that I was in was shot down by a Syrian missile. My co-pilot, which was the distance like between us, was decapitated. And so little by little after coming out from this incident, I decided that architecture is too formal exercise to speak about this burning Middle East, and I started to do films.
We are here, as you know, at the Institut du Monde Arabe, the Paris Institute of the Arab world, and it just held in the fall and winter of 2021-22 a very well-attended exhibition devoted to the Jews of the Orient after 2 others, respectively an exhibition on the Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca and another one about the Christians of the Arab world. Nevertheless, this exhibition on the Jews of the Orient was heavily criticized by some intellectuals and militants belonging to the boycott, disinvestment and sanctions against Israel movement. What's your take on that? And how would you say your own work contributes to the search for peace between Israel and the Arabs? On what grounds and with which conditions?
That you are authorized to criticize power. The almighty King David, the most celebrated king, is accused by the biblical writer, he or she, that he was immoral. And the prophet Nathan goes to him and put it on the record that he desired Bathsheba, and he sent her husband to Uriah to be killed in the war. So it means that it was very important for them to inscribe for the future DNA. I said that the culture is a critical instrument, and in a way the best artists worldwide are those who had critical to the place, to the culture, not because they hated it, but on the contrary, because they loved it, because they wanted to preserve it, and so on. And so my attitude to all this region is that I think we need to be critical but not hostile.
Dear Amos, thank you very much for being my guest on Reading the Middle East with Gilles Kepel, featured on El Monitor. We are going to listen as a special present to the El Monitor viewers to a small excerpt of your last theater play, Exils intérieurs, with Nathalie Dessay singing. Thank you so much. If you have not done so already, please sign up for Reading the Middle East and El Monitor's other podcasts on the Middle East with Andrew Parasiditi and Amerin Zaman, and on Israel with Ben Caspit on your favorite podcast platform.